So, ladies and gentlemen, we got this situation going on where AOC showed up to the Munich security conference where several Democrats decided to take their anti-Trump tour overseas and try to flex some of their foreign policy credibility on the international stage. And instead of actually laying out clear doctrine, some sort of strategy, or even coherent framework for how they would handle global threats, it turned into the same recycled message: Trump bad. And when someone asked what she would do, what AOC would actually do on the world stage, the talking points fell completely apart. As always, you guys enjoy the content, smash the thumbs up button. That's the best way to let me know. Don't forget, subscribe to stay locked in with more content in the future. Let's get right into it.
Democratic presidential hopefuls are on the world stage, testing out their foreign policy chops at the Munich Security Conference. They're also slamming President Trump in a ploy to woo progressives ahead of 2028.
Donald Trump is doubling down on stupid. California has been a leader in climate policy going back to Ronald Reagan.
They are looking to withdraw the United States from the entire world so that we can turn into an age of authoritarianisms.
The unpredictability, the instability, the putting our allies at arm's length has come with a big cost. We're in worse shape than we were 14 months ago.
Yeah, so the big takeaway from this conference was this: if this is what the Democrat Party is offering up against whoever runs in 2028, J.D. Vance, Rubio, then in my opinion, they're done. And what you're starting to realize about some of these people is that they're actually clueless. And that's kind of scary, considering they're the ones responsible for governing and passing laws, and you and I will be affected by those laws. It makes you question a lot when we talk about politics. And there was no better example of that than AOC. She showed she was a graduate of the Kamala Harris School of Word Salad. So let's get into the first clip. Take a listen.
I think this is a moment where we are seeing our presidential administration tear apart the transatlantic partnership, rip up every democratic norm, and, really calling into question, as was mentioned by David Carney at the World Economic Forum, the rules-based order that we have, or question mark, do we have? And so I think one of the reasons why, not just myself, but many of our colleagues here, in fact, many Democrats that are here as well, is because we want to tell a larger story, that what is happening is indeed very grave. And we are in a new era, domestically and globally. There have been many leaders who've said we will go back. And I think we have to recognize that we are in a new day and in a new time. But that does not mean that the majority of Americans are ready to walk away from a rules-based order, and that we're ready to walk away from our commitment to democracy. I think what we identify is that in a rules-based order, hypocrisy is vulnerability. And so I think what we are seeking is a return to a rules-based order that eliminates the hypocrisies around when too often in the West we'd look the other way for inconvenient populations to act out these paradoxes.
Now listen, I won't claim to be the most well-versed on foreign policy if AOC won't. Because I can tell you this, but I can say she sounds clueless when it comes to actually understanding how to answer that question. And so she just figured she would throw around all the buzzword talking points and hope that it would take care of things. Listen, they say the best speakers can take even the most complicated subjects and make them understandable for everyone. And right there, it sounds like she's just trying to sound smart, but fails terribly. And it only got worse when she was asked this question. Take a listen.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is of course a very longstanding policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point. and we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
Yeah, AOC has no clue about what's going on, which is okay. It's fine. But don't go to an event like that, bashing the president on the world stage, and then not even be able to answer basic questions without sounding like you didn't even study for the test. The entire thing comes off like, hey, forget it. I'll just wing it. As long as you can bring it back to Trump is evil, Trump bad, it'll work out fine. I mean, it works in the States, right? But this is exactly why Democrats look cooked right now when it comes to hopefuls in the future. And now you got people like Stephen A. Smith hinting at running for president as a Democrat, because really, what else do they have to offer? Check it out.
Would you run as a Democrat?
Yeah, because I couldn't see myself running as a member of the GOP. I'm a fiscal conservative. I can't stand high taxes, but I'm a social liberal in the same breath because I believe in living and let live. I pay attention to the desolate and the disenfranchised. Yes, I like strong borders. That's absolutely true. We never needed open borders, but we don't need it to be completely closed either. We're a gorgeous mosaic.
Sounds like you're getting a stump speech ready, Stephen.
No, there's no stump speech, but I can give it.
Could you be competitive in a Democratic primary? Some big names might run. Gavin Newsom, the California governor, among many others.
I respect all of them in terms of their intellect, in terms of where their heart lies, in terms of the service that they want to provide to this country. But ultimately, your actions speak louder than anything. Gavin Newsom is somebody that I think has tremendous potential if he moves towards the center. But ultimately, affordability with taxes in the state of California, the homelessness, the crime, he's gonna have to answer those questions, being a prisoner of the environmentalist out there. He's gonna have to answer those questions.
Yeah, so you heard that Stephen A. is back again, basically saying he might run for president, or at least that he's thinking about it, and we'll wait and see. You heard him say he's positioned himself as a fiscal conservative and a social liberal, arguing that the Democrat Party has drifted too far to the left. And so that's the lane that Stephen A. looks like he's trying to carve out. But let's turn to someone who has actually changed how a lot of people have viewed him over the past few years, and I'm talking about Marco Rubio. It wasn't that long ago when many Republicans weren't exactly fans of this guy, but that shifted quite a bit. And so let's go to him because he was actually speaking with clarity and real understanding of what's happening. And he also spoke at the Munich Security Conference. Take a listen.
We increasingly outsourced our sovereignty to international institutions while many nations invested in massive welfare states at the cost of maintaining the ability to defend themselves. This, even as other countries have invested in the most rapid military buildup in all of human history and have not hesitated to use hard power to pursue their own interests. To appease a climate cult, we have imposed energy policies on ourselves that are impoverishing our people, even as our competitors exploit oil and coal and natural gas and anything else, not just to power their economies, but to use as leverage against our own. And in a pursuit of a world without borders, we opened our doors to an unprecedented wave of mass migration that threatens the cohesion of our societies, the continuity of our culture, and the future of our people. We made these mistakes together. And now, together, we owe it to our people to face those facts and to move forward to rebuild. Under President Trump, the United States of America will once again take on the task of renewal and restoration, driven by a vision of a future as proud, as sovereign, and as vital as our civilization's past. And while we are prepared, if necessary, to do this alone, it is our preference and it is our hope to do this together with you, our friends here in Europe. For the United States and Europe, we belong together. America was founded 250 years ago, but the roots began here on this continent long before. The men who settled and built the nation of my birth arrived on our shores carrying the memories and the traditions and the Christian faith of their ancestors as a sacred inheritance, an unbreakable link between the old world and the new. We are part of one civilization, Western civilization. We are bound to one another by the deepest bonds that nations could share, forged by centuries of shared history, Christian faith, culture, heritage, language, ancestry, and the sacrifices our forefathers made together for the common civilization to which we have fallen heir. And so this is why we Americans may sometimes come off as a little direct and urgent in our counsel. This is why President Trump demands seriousness and reciprocity from our friends here in Europe. The reason why, my friends, is because we care deeply. We care deeply about your future and ours. And if at times we disagree, our disagreements come from our profound sense of concern about a Europe with which we are connected, not just economically, not just militarily. We are connected spiritually, and we are connected culturally. We want Europe to be strong. We believe that Europe must survive. Because the two great wars of the last century serve for us as history's constant reminder that ultimately our destiny is and will always be intertwined with yours.
All right, and so you saw the clip, you heard it, and what Rubio is saying is simple. America doesn't want to operate in isolation. No, we're fine with alliances. We're fine with cooperation. A multilateral framework, sure. But the old so-called rules-based order clearly isn't producing results anymore. It's outdated, it's lopsided, and it needs reform. And reform means this: Europe and any other ally has to step up, period. You can't preach partnership while relying on the United States to bankroll your security. You can't champion social programs at home while outsourcing your defense to American taxpayers. If we're going to be strong together, then let's be strong together. And that means everybody carries weight. Spend on your own defense, strengthen your economies, embrace markets, innovation, productivity, stand upright, and then we move forward as equals. And what Rubio is saying is what we're not doing anymore is carrying countries that are comfortable being dependent while we absorb the cost and the risk. And is that really something that should be controversial? I don't think so. Unless, of course, you're looking at it through the lens of modern democratic politics, where the instinct is always subsidy first, accountability later. Domestically, the solution is often expand the program, right? We see what's going on in New York, California, Chicago. Increase the funding, write the check. That mindset doesn't just disappear when you talk about foreign affairs and you cross the Atlantic. And what Rubio is arguing has nothing to do with abandonment. It has to do with strengthening shared responsibility. We want Europe to be capable. We want allies self-sufficient, because partnerships only work when both sides can stand on their own 2 feet. That's the point, at least in my opinion. Now let me hear from you. As always, smash the thumbs up button if you enjoy the content. That's the best way to let me know. And don't forget, subscribe to stay locked in with future videos. And as always, until next time.